others, and let people like Ghislaine, who they knew had an operation going on in her home, just like Savile, just like, what happened at the properties, different properties that J.E. owned, let's say in the private island, the Manhattan townhouse, the house in Florida. Everyone knew the place in Santa Fe. He even had a place in Colorado, and things were going on there. His apartment in Paris. People knew everywhere. This was silenced by what Alexander said. I was told to back off. And then we, the public, are given these people who go through a revolving door, because this is still happening, except it's no longer Savile running it. It's no longer J.E. running it. It's no longer Ghislaine running it, or even Jean-Luc, who's also expired. Other people have taken their place. This is a part of our reality. We know it now, thanks in large part to Virginia, Robert Giuffre, Maria Farmer, and everyone else who stepped forward. We know this now. However, we cannot say, oh, why have not the police? We now know why the police do not do anything. We now know why mainstream media, which is an arm, the police are an arm of the intelligence apparatus. In fact, they are taught by each country's intelligence apparatus on how to behave and what to do. We can no longer blame necessarily mainstream media, because they too are an arm of the intelligence apparatus. That is, we've gotten nothing but propaganda until we started having our own channels on YouTube, with Shaun having one of the longest standing channels talking truth to power. It's up to us, Matthew, Beverly, and Shaun, to keep telling the world the truth, because we cannot expect the truth to come from elsewhere. We cannot just focus on Savile or Epstein or Maxwell or this person, or we have to know where the power comes from. I personally believe that all politicians should be required, sort of like the way that we have, everyone has to do, you have to appear in court to be sort of like, I forget what it's called, on a every 4-year basis, you're like a jury selection. I think the way, if we're going to have real government, we should do it by the people. We should all be required to serve every 2 years and then keep going. And there should be no, there should be no real politicians. Let's just put it that way. There's just too much corruption.
Well, I will say, my late friend Robin Williams, the comedian, he always says all politicians should be required to wear jackets with sponsorship labels, so like NASCAR drivers, so we know who is paying for them. That is what we want to know, is who is paying for each politician. And we've now got an ambassador in America for Great Britain, who is Peter Mandelson. Peter Mandelson, of course, spent time with Epstein in both Paris and the islands. Peter Mandelson called him whilst he was in prison. Peter Mandelson has sworn at the Financial Times journalist who dared ask him a question about it. And the dreadful Keir Starmer, the farmer harmer, who I cannot stand, has appointed him as ambassador to America. This man has got no shame. And Peter Mandelson is there in all those photographs. He stayed in that townhouse. He stayed on that island, him and his boyfriend. They went shopping together. There's there's pictures of them toasting one another at a birthday party in Paris. I've been outside that apartment in Paris, and it's all sorts of things have gone on with this dreadful.
Well, Matthew, that proves my point. Every time,
I'm saying every politician should be required to wear.
Exactly, I agree. I think Robin Williams was 100% right. Every time, if you look at Trump's administration, the one in 2016 and the one now Howard Lutnick is his. I think what is he, the Commerce Secretary or something like that? Howard Lutnick was given his townhouse by Leslie Wexner. He was Jeffrey Epstein's neighbor. Howard Lutnick, who was the head of Cantor Fitzgerald, somehow, and who had his offices at the World Trade Center. And who else did he give space to? Sarah Ferguson, who was also in New York during that horrible day in September on the 11th day. Oh, she too was doing an interview with, I think it was Channel 4 in New York City, but she was staying next door to J.E. at Howard's house that was bought by Wexner, given to J.E., transferred to Howard Lutnick, who is now in Donald Trump's administration. Lutnick did not make it to his office that day. He was late because he took his little boy to school. However, the night before, he was out till very late. He went to the Michael Jackson concert in Madison Square Garden. He took his brother, who lost his life the following day, to an expensive dinner. I think we all know now what happened on that day. But these people, anyone who was in Donald Trump's administration, and by the way, no one seems to know that Howard Lutnick co-created with Elon Musk Doge. When people talk about Doge, they make it seem like, oh, this is all of Elon Musk's idea. No, Howard Lutnick was the brainchild. You could just put it into any search bar, put in Howard Lutnick, Lutnik, Doge, and you will see how that came to be. He is not a good guy, but that is why these men become our political leaders. Donald Trump, in both administrations, hired or tapped on the shoulder or ascended bad people, just like Peter Mandelson in the UK. Bad people, that is what's required. In fact, with J. Edgar Hoover, the reason that he ascended into becoming the FBI director for the duration of his life was because he had no moral compass. That is who, and we know he was like Andrew, like Mandelson, like almost any politician we can, deeply compromised. That is who ascends to power. We have to just recognize this for what this is.
And we must recognize, Peter Mandelson was the reason, one of the main reasons that connected Ghislaine and Epstein. The fact that they had Jess Staley of Barclays on speed dial, which meant they got access to Tony Blair, they got access to Gordon Brown, they got access to Barclays Bank, they got access to JP Morgan. This was a very key part of what they were doing. There was the financial side to this just as much as there was the other part, because they wanted to be powerful people and control other people. And these poor people who got sucked in, like Virginia, were used in the process and used and abused. This is why Jess Staley always talked about Snow White and, which one do you want to have next was another question. And he is still under investigation currently. That hasn't been resolved. Jess Staley, I think Jess and Debbie Staley are two very key players in this that need to be further highlighted. I've done a lot of research into them, never met the pair of them and hope never to meet them, but they are very key to this. We've still got Mark Epstein, who's still alive, and he hasn't spoken much lately, but his connections with all of this are something that need further highlighting. We've got Leon Black, you've got all of these serious people in the world of finance, and the money of this is the key to another part of the story. So obviously Virginia was paid money by Epstein, was paid money by Prince Andrew, obviously without admission of guilt, and obviously that will be continued to be talked about. But money does not make up for what is done to you. If you've been abused and you've been treated badly, no money can make it right. If any old payout will just, it may make you suffer in a better condition, in a better home, but you're still going to suffer the mental trauma of that. And obviously it's taken its toll on her, and it's an absolute tragedy for her children especially, and her ex-husband and her father and all the rest of the family.
Yeah.
And Ryan Dawson has actually posted some tweets. I have reached out to Ryan Dawson for a statement, and if you've just tuned in right now, We've got 3.5K watching across all of the platforms. If you have just tuned in, Ryan Dawson is going blind. He's lost the sight in one eye. He's announced this himself. It's not private. And his X handle is in the description box. I'll put it in the live chat. And I urge people to send some love and support over for Ryan on X. So here's what he has posted. I'll put it on the screen. So 3 hours ago, he posted, I know people are making a picture of a post she made 6 years ago saying she'd never unalive herself. That was before losing a husband of 22 years and 3 kids. She said 2 weeks ago that she was just ready to go, just wanted to see her babies one last time. She posted the song, Somebody That I Used to Know. Then she posted a black screen with a broken heart emoji. And then 5 hours ago, Ryan posted, Virginia, her kidney failure wasn't from the car crash. Going to the hospital because of the car crash serendipitously alerted doctors to her kidney condition that was also already terrible. They told her she had about 4 days to live, IV. She didn't get treatment. She wanted to see her kids. No one came. Her kidneys were most likely dying from pills from the SA, plus looming divorce, plus being separated from her kids, plus tabloids attacking her was killing her. She self-medicated. She died last night, 25th, in near Gabby. So if Ryan sends me a message, I will read that out as well. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Kirby?
I think Ryan is right. I think he's 100% right. I think she, in fact, it was J.E. who put her on some substance situations. She began at that time to use substance. I believe that she had stopped, but she had to have been taking some kind of pain medication for the kind of ongoing abuse that she was experiencing. I mean, if her kidneys were basically, I mean, that's where the substance attacks, right? It attacks your kidneys. So, I mean, she was suffering from many, many things. I mean, she was suffering internally. She was suffering externally. I think Ryan is right. I think that she just had enough, you know. It was too much for this. She's only one woman. We're all just normal human beings. We can only absorb so much. I can understand the public and their skepticism of, she said she was not going to ever do this, and yet she did. But she said that in 2019. And a lot of things happened since then. And it's a gradual beating down on someone's psyche. I do not believe that it was caused, let's say somebody broke into her home and did her in the way I believe happened to J.E. I believe that was an external force. In Virginia's case, sadly, I think she'd had enough. I really do. She was at her lowest point. The loss of her children was, I believe, more devastating to her than any physical abuse her husband inflicted on her, than anything that she, I mean, you know, you have your children and you lose them. Apparently, Robbie, she put up this brave front saying he was her savior. Well, clearly we see that he was her undoing, right? The beginning of her undoing. He got her away from one bad situation only to put her in another bad situation. I don't call that very brave of him to have done. And people are also focusing on, oh, well, Virginia made all this money. Now Robbie's going to get it. I think that we have to stop looking beyond the money. And look at Virginia as a human being, and look at her children as humans, and stop focusing on money. Why there's this unusual obsession about how much she got from Andrew or how much she got from Ghislaine or how much she got from Epstein. She deserved every penny and more. It destroyed her life. She has no more life at the age of 41. 41 is just the beginning of middle age. The beginning of middle age. She had another 41 years to go, if not more. I mean, we've all lost an important voice. But really, again, I feel this world did not deserve her. She was too good for this world.
Beverly, have you got anything to add? Because you were a survivor of Savile yourself,
Mm.
and you're familiar with the trauma and the consequences that can happen over time.
Yes, I would like to add that survivors are in a position where they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. So no matter what position you take, whether you keep quiet, I kept quiet for many years actually, and then it became too much and I had to speak out. And I understand exactly with the position that she was in. But at some point you do feel very alone, because what happens to us in those rooms during those events, no matter whether they are CSA or SRA, all of that, we are able to go through that alone. We are alone in our bodies. We are alone in our soul. And nobody, unless you've been through it, actually knows how hard it is to live with this on a day-to-day basis. It is a day-to-day fight. You go from one day to the next and make sure that you keep on fighting. So we've got to see her as a human being, as a soul, as a person that was trying to do her very, very best for everyone, for the survivors. And money does not actually come into it. And that really makes me as mad as a snake when people say, oh, it's the money, it's the this, it's the that. No, money is just a byproduct. It's to be able to get the message out there. So she was shut down. And a lot of folks are saying things like, oh, it can't possibly be an unaliving. When you understand what you are programmed to do and how you are programmed, I won't even go into the awful methods that they use to program you, because it's not something I can even discuss on this channel. My book says a lot of that. But she would have gone through the same rituals that I went through. And at the end of the day, if you don't do as you're told, when you are told to do it, and when you are activated, if you don't do what they ask you to do to unalive yourself, they will ensure that you are unalived and that it appears to be that way. They're very, very clever. I mean, this is a very large organization. It goes across all of the world. And there are many people that are all involved in this that people don't even realize. So let's see her for the true person that she was. Let's honor her for what she tried to do in her life. Because this young girl, I mean, she's actually younger than my eldest daughter. My eldest daughter's 45. She's only 41. She was only 41. And she really tried her damnedest to make sure that she brought as much light out and put as much truth out there as possible. We always know as survivors, generally, 90% of people don't believe us. We get short shrift from most people, which is fine. But that small percentage where the light and the truth breaks through, that is what she, as the young lady that lost her soul when she was really young, like all of us did, she in the last days of her life has been able to accomplish what many haven't been able to do. She has shone a light on the truth. And I think that's where we should remember Virginia and all those who believed her story. For that purpose alone, allow that light to shine and allow her to rest in peace.
Well said. And trauma is programming. Once you're traumatized, your whole life path is changed, and it creates a vulnerability that can be exploited. And there are so many ways people are exploited. And, Lady Hervey was one of the exploiters, as far as I'm concerned. And she should be looking in the mirror today and reflecting.
I think that woman has no soul. She's a vapid human being, like her father, who was a thief. So I don't think that someone like her there are just some people who are born with dark souls and will never be able to see or understand what Beverly so rightfully pointed out. I think that We will see some more hate against Virginia, some more trolling, which is really a sad state on humanity. However, we will see less of it. We won't see as much as what happened after the bus and car encounter 3 weeks ago. There'll be less of it, but it will continue. It'll continue if somebody steps forward tomorrow and we are exposed to yet another large-scale operation. We will see a repeat. This is the first time in history, with Virginia at the head, that we were allowed, as the general public and those of us who were victims as well as survivors, to see something play out in the mainstream, which gave us a sense of hope. It gave us all a sense of hope. But what Beverly said is spot on. We live with this every single day. We live with the trauma. We do have PTSD. There is not a day in my life that goes by that I do not feel it all day long. And it takes a tremendous amount of energy, and Beverly, you would know about this, to push beyond these feelings of despair that wash over us in unexpected moments throughout the course of our daily lives, and to keep going in a way that raises us. We are never really raised to the level where we would have been had this not happened to us, because we're always trying to balance our emotions, trying to, put up a good front for the world. We're fine. We're okay. We're not okay. We are okay to the best of our individual abilities. And that is why I feel that, yeah, she's going to still get some trolling, but she has taught the world what bravery looks like, what overcoming looks like. What I hope she also brings to the forefront is, do not tolerate an abusive partner, whether you are a man or a female. If your partner is abusive, leave. Leaving is when, as we can see with Virginia, is when you are at most danger, either from the person who has abused you physically for a number of years or even whatever length of time. That is when you are at the most danger. You could be unalived by that person, or you can be harassed by that person like he was doing to her by taking her to court and not allowing her to see her children, driving her to do something like this. So I hope this sheds light on, do not allow yourself to be in a situation where you are going to be somebody's abuse bucket, where you are going to be kicked around, because no matter how much sense or counseling that person receives, they're not going to stop seeing you as somebody they can push around. Just leave. Yes, you may suffer the consequence of not having enough money, but eventually you will be on your feet. It's funny, one woman sent me a really wonderful message. She said, and I don't know how I did this or why, but I've gotten messages like this for the last couple of years. She said to me, Kirby, I was in an abusive marriage. You gave me the strength to leave. Because of your strength, I left. I had no money. Sometimes the most I can do is take a shower, and that is my accomplishment for the day. But I thank you because I can wake up, and even in this cramped small room, which is all I can afford, I am free. And really, that's how I felt. When I left my abusive situation, I had $100 to my name. I had nothing else. Literally nothing else. Nothing. All my earthly possessions had been destroyed. I had nothing. I had no clothing, I had nothing. I had $100 to my name. But that instilled in me, as I hope it will instill in everyone who has watched this, the urge to survive. It kicked something in. It kicked it in. And I was adamant that nothing was going to destroy me. And I continued and I rebuilt my life from scratch without family assistance, without friends, because my friends had been removed from my life intentionally. I suppose not only did they try to unalive me 3 different times by having